This story is a very, very emotional one. To see 70-year-old men who are in their 70s, crying, telling about their experience, how they were not believed by church leadership. They happened to attend the Seventh Day Adventist Church, where in the UK, where they had a particular preacher who took advantage of them. So what this man does is he will go to meet their parents, speak to them and say, oh, I want this guy to join me to Oxford University, where I would be taking him around to see the school, a little tour about Oxford University, because at the time he was a lecturer there and also a pastor of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, right? So women will willingly give him these black boys, because he mostly did it to black boys, because he knew that with the black boys, their parents would naturally trust them. And if it is the white people, these children would definitely tell their parents. And apparently, even when one of them spoke out, one did not. The one that spoke up, they did not believe him. The church did not pay attention. They said he didn't have evidence. Even when they filed a report, he did not. They say he didn't have evidence. So eventually, these people lived with this pain. And one of the guys who spoke up, at the time he was, I think, 14. The other guy was 15. What the man does is he would take them, although when he came back, sorry to digress, when he came back, he told his mother never to allow his younger ones follow this man. He kept saying, this man. So the next thing, some people in church called these boys and said they should never talk about it, that they should keep it under wraps. And this is the men who are now in their 70s, which means if the one was 15, is now 72, which means this thing was done to him 60-something years ago. You can imagine the trauma they had to go through. This brings me to say that the church, like they mentioned in that place, that the church, the Seventh-day Adventists, did not protect them. They didn't care about what they went through. The church is supposed to be a place of love, a place of laughter, a place where you come to have your burdens, dropped, to worship God and all. But in this case, that wasn't it. And even when they tried to use private investigation, they did not still bring the result out. You've done your investigation, they refused to bring the result, because so many children were, being abused, and the church did not say anything. They were protecting the name of the church, protecting the pastor, and leaving these children to go through this horror. So it goes to show that a lot of people who have gone into all these homosexual things did not do it on their own volition. It wasn't their will to do it. They went into that because of the way they were introduced into it, right? It wasn't their fault. But those who never wanted it lived with the pain and kept being living an angry life. This brings me to say that if you have a child, whether it's, sometimes they'll say protect the girl child, protect the girl child, protect the girl child, but they don't know that the male children also go through this. Now, there's a guy that talked about how he became gay. He said his parents used to live in with his teacher who used to come home to do home lesson for him, and this teacher would take undue advantage of him. When he was 9 years old, the teacher would take him into the restroom and make him do the kind of dirty things you do to him, and then he will now take undue advantage of the boy, and that's how that boy grew to be gay. I feel that if somebody wants to be gay, they should allow the person do it on their own volition, not to force people's children into that kind of thing. That's sodomy, and at the end of the day, they go through this. This should not even be heard in the house of God. It should not be heard. And people had this to say on the comment section. Let us read. This person said, I am proud of the victims for having the courage to speak out. How awful. Words can't express my feelings. This other person say, how brave of these men to tell their stories. Thank you for raising awareness to such an important issue. This one say, parents, do not ever trust your children to anyone. Exactly what I said. This one said, I am an Adventist. I find this abuse offered by these men deeply disturbing. My heart bleeds for these men. This church is this same instance my denomination. has a responsibility to protect people before it protects its reputation. Exactly what I said earlier. These boys should have been protected. May we never ever repeat this history. Amen. This one said, all the participants who told the boys to keep quiet and are still alive should be jailed. By the way, this man who took advantage of them, the pastor, got sick of cancer and died. And now, somebody finally believed one of these boys. And the guy, he broke that. They asked him, how did he feel when someone believed him? He said he felt a heavy burden off him because people who didn't believe him, one person at least believed. This one say, it is in every church. Bad people hide in good places. I hope all these people can heal. It's so sad. It's not in all churches, so some churches don't do that. Some, but very little. This one say, as a STA, I am furious. The church should have protected this vulnerable kids. Exactly. A child that is 14 and the other one 15. That's unfair now. This one say, as a Seventh Adventist, this is disgusting and evil to a degree I can't understand. Why would church leaders be hiding this? Why would church leaders be hiding this? This one says, as a Seventh, this is disgusting and evil to the degree I can't understand. Why would church leaders ignore report and just transfer the guy to another region? That's what they did. Each time they reported him where he was, they would transfer him to another place. So he went to one African country like that to preach. So they decided to expose the man. The church did not still believe him. They transferred him to another place. So imagine how many people this man must have taken advantage of. Just imagine. This person said, evil persists when good men do nothing. Sinners and hypocrites hide in religious groups, schools, clubs to perpetrate evil. This person said, it takes strength and bravery to stand up and speak in such tight-knit communities. Thank you for paving the way. This other person say, I am shocked and deeply feel for the victims. Mr. Smith was my IT teacher when I was at school. I just didn't expect to see this very heartbreaking. Meaning that one of the people who was teaching him while in school was the one that was a victim of that man. This one said, I am an Adventist pastor and I am deeply sorrowful. These men did not deserve this betrayal and I'm ashamed of my church for this that is for their reluctance in responding. He's ashamed of his church. Of course, a church, somebody complained to you that somebody, did something to them. What the man does is he will just bring you to his house after showing you the university. He will now bring you to his house, and then he won't say he jumped at him, and then he opened his zip and went in through his back. That is really wicked. This one said, okay, that this man said is a member, is a pastor in the church, that he feels so bad that this man did this. This other person say, Lord, please help me to raise my son in honesty and to give him a safe place to speak to me in any moment. Please protect our babies from predators who come in sheep's clothing and lure our babies to this level of pain and fear. That is the thing I was saying. Be more open to your children, that they tell your children from when they are babies. In fact, as your child begins to hear, tell them from year one that they can understand you. Say, don't ever be ashamed to tell me anything. Tell me everything. I am the only one that can keep your secret. By the time you tell your children that, tell them that when somebody wants to touch you, I started telling my children this. Run away, shout, scream, talk about it. Run away. This person said, I cried so hard watching this. That's my cousin, Michael. This is the first time hearing of this, but I know of Dr. Kelly very well. I listened to some of his health lectures at my church. I am so proud of this man speaking out on what the church has covered up for so long. He said, my dad is 7 Days Adventist. My daddy's church, when I came over from Grenada around the same time as Michael's mother, who is his sister. I have so much to say to this. Yeah. So that other man that man was actually there. In fact, the whole story is just messed up. It's really sad. It's good that the man died of cancer, at least in his. But the annoying part is he died of cancer, but he would have asked God for mercy. That's one thing with Christendom that I can never understand. After being wicked to people.